is this mystery woman? They do not make commercials like this anymore. I'm talking about the 2001 Britney Spears Joy of Pepsi commercial. The most iconic advertisement of all time. This commercial has everything. Belly button piercing, Bob Dole's junk, criminally negligent fire, and of course, America's greatest treasure, Britney Spears. The commercial also has some very serious problems, which we will get into. Everything in our culture has shifted dramatically in the last 20 years, and this Britney Spears Pepsi commercial is a reflection of it all. Britney did multiple Pepsi commercials back in the early 2000s, but in 2001, the very first Britney Pepsi commercial came out. This has come up again lately because Pepsi is re-airing the commercial for the first time in 20 years. They're re-airing the commercial for the MTV Video Music Awards. I didn't know that MTV still did that, but nothing gets me more amped up than the vroom vroom truck sound effect at the beginning of the song. Britney inked an endorsement deal with Pepsi when she was just 19 years old. According to Pepsi at the time, it was the biggest deal the company had ever made with an entertainer. For this multi-commercial sponsorship deal, Pepsi paid Britney $8 million. I know that $8 million is a lot of money, but for an endorsement deal, that sounds low to me. At the time, Britney was arguably the biggest pop star in the world. Analysts were predicting Britney was making at least $50 million from this deal. For context, in 1989, Pepsi paid Madonna $5 million to do one commercial. Nike paid Tiger Woods $100 million for an endorsement deal. And in 2012, Pepsi paid Beyonce $50 million for an endorsement deal. We don't know all the details of any of these deals, so it's impossible to know if this was a fair price, but compared to other sponsorship deals, it does seem a little low. Britney is making a custom music video for Pepsi. You just don't see that anymore. Britney is singing her own version of the Pepsi jingle, The Joy of Cola, with the classic ba 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 ba. What is it with brands going ba ba ba? We've got the Pepsi ba 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 ba, and then later McDonald's would go ba da ba ba ba. Maybe there was a study done that consumers really respond to ba 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 ba. Is it because they couldn't think of any words and then decided that words don't actually matter? It's just about the melody. If I were a conspiracy theorist, I would say that ba is the sound that sheep make, and so it's getting consumers to follow your brand like sheep. I don't actually believe that. It's very catchy, and that's all that matters. A popular performer performing original music and making an original music video for your brand feels like a thing that wouldn't really happen now. I'm trying to think of the last time I saw a musical artist in a commercial for a brand, and all I can think of is Lady Gaga in the Nurtec commercial. Some fans did get mad at her for taking money from Big Pharma. I do feel like the only commercials I see now are for prescription drugs. Oh, and I almost forgot about the Taylor Swift Capital One commercial. I'm trying to think of the last time I saw a celebrity in a Pepsi commercial. The only thing that comes to mind is 2017 when Pepsi tried to get Kendall Jenner to stop police brutality with a can of Pepsi, and that didn't work out so well. At the time, Britney was no stranger to endorsement deals. For beverages, she did do the Got Milk campaign a few years earlier. Those were iconic ads and everyone loved them, but they stopped doing them because it turns out seeing celebrities with milk all over their face did not make anybody want to drink milk more. I've seen a lot of misinformation that Britney's first Pepsi commercial came out during the Super Bowl. False. This first Pepsi commercial came out during the Academy Awards, and then the following year in 2002, her Pepsi commercial came out during the Super Bowl, and that was a Pepsi Generation campaign. And they showed Britney in different eras singing about Pepsi. And then in 2004, Britney did another Pepsi Super Bowl commercial that also included Beyonce and Pink and Enrique Iglesias. Weirdly, they sang a very long cover of Queen's We Will Rock You and then fed Enrique Iglesias to a lion. It's a very confusing commercial. Tucker Carlson gave Britney a hard time, trying to imply that she advertises for Pepsi but doesn't really drink it. And of course, Britney had no time for this nonsense.
Just between you and me, how much Pepsi do you think you drink on an average day?
I really do like Pepsi.
Really? What's your favorite kind?
I really do. My favorite kind of Pepsi's Pepsi.
Britney Spears, she's just like us. She cannot hide her contempt for how annoying Tucker Carlson is. Ugh. At the time, there really weren't a bunch of different kinds of Pepsi. In the early 90s, they did make Crystal Pepsi. That was a huge failure / joke. Now they truly do have a million kinds of Pepsi. If only 19-year-old Britney could see what horrors the future holds when it comes for kinds of Pepsi. There was a Peeps flavored Pepsi that they came out with. Now they have a mango Pepsi. They have a night Nitro Vanilla Pepsi. Pepsi has a history of making commercials with musical artists. Tina Turner did a Pepsi commercial. The Spice Girls did a Pepsi commercial. The Spice Girls Generation Next jingle is a certified banger that I still love to this day. It's so good. Pepsi did an ad with Madonna in 1989 that they later pulled. The commercial featured Madonna's Like a Prayer, but when the Like a Prayer music video came out, there was an outrage because of all the religious iconography used in it. Pepsi ended up pulling the ad that they spent $5 million on. Even though there was nothing controversial about the ad itself, it's just Madonna drinking Pepsi and dancing around to Like a Prayer. This year, Pepsi is bringing that commercial back because we know that Like a Prayer is one of the greatest songs of all time. We obviously have the whole Pepsi versus Coke rivalry. This Britney commercial does address that. In the commercial, we see Coke employees watching the Britney commercial. There is a theory that you should never put your competitor's brand in your commercial because you're giving them free advertising, even if it's negative. Pepsi chose to ignore that and show a little Coke. Even the fellas over at the Coke factory can't resist Miss Britney Spears. Details about Britney's financials were released as court documents during the legal battle over her conservatorship. It was revealed that in Britney's stock portfolio, she actually does invest in Coke and not Pepsi. After the Generation Next slogan, Pepsi switched to the Joy of Cola as their slogan. But then they realized that that wasn't specific enough because the Joy of Cola could refer to Coke as well. So they changed it to the Joy of Pepsi, and we do see that in the Britney commercial. At the very beginning of the commercial, we see Britney dressed in a Pepsi factory outfit. Her hair is hidden beneath her hat, but she flips the hat off and shock of all shocks, it's not a factory employee, it's Britney Spears. What are the odds? It's not as easy as it looks. True Britney fans will know that throwing off her hat to reveal her hair, that's not the first time she's done that move. It's a Britney signature, and where she's done it is, in my opinion, one of the greatest Britney performances of all time. And that is the 2000 MTV Music Video Awards. Video Music Awards? Wait, a lot of people think Britney's most iconic performance was the 2001 Video Music Awards with the snake. Nobody seems to mention whether or not snakes can get dizzy. The year prior, the 2000 Video Music Award Britney performance, Britney's hair is tucked under her hat, she's wearing a suit, and she starts singing her cover of Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones, and then she starts stripping, she throws the hat off. This performance at the time was extremely controversial because she was wearing a skin-toned bodysuit, so it kind of looked like she was naked. That was considered highly provocative. It's really funny now, 20 years later, because if a pop star wore this sparkly bodysuit, nobody would care. That would be like a Tuesday. Now let's get to the problematic parts of the commercial. Everything Britney does in the commercial is brilliant. None of the problems are with her. Pepsi couldn't just let Britney shine like they should have. They tried to infuse their own humor, and that's where the problem begins. So part of the commercial involves men staring creepily at Britney, hypnotized by how beautiful she is. Look, there's no argument Britney's amazing performance is hypnotic, but this cook in a restaurant is so mesmerized by Britney that he lets a fire start and the fire department has to come because he can't stop staring at Britney. I was a teenager when this commercial came out and I was obsessed with the commercial. I loved watching it, but the part with the creepy men really bothered me. And you know, if you're a woman, you've probably been stared at by creepy men. It doesn't feel great.
Why are these men looking at me?
The joke is that Britney Spears is so hot that it made this man almost kill everyone in this restaurant. It feeds into this myth that men have no control over their own behavior. Oh yeah, women are sexual objects. Thanks, Pepsi, for reminding me of that. Speaking of creepy, now we we have to get to the erectile dysfunction portion of the commercial. I don't know if anyone under the age of 30 knows who Bob Dole is. If you're Gen Z and you know who Bob Dole is, please let me know in the comments. Believe it or not, Bob Dole was in this Britney Spears Pepsi commercial. Bob Dole was an American politician. He was most famous for running for president in 1996 and losing to Bill Clinton. And then for some reason, he started doing commercials. Before the Britney Spears commercial, Bob Dole was already a character in the Pepsi universe. But we have to start at the beginning. Bob Dole was in a commercial for Viagra.
Post-operative side effects like erectile dysfunction.
It was a PSA about erectile dysfunction for Pfizer.
You know, it's a little embarrassing to talk about ED.
Bob Dole was the face of Viagra.
It may take a little courage, but I've always found that everything worthwhile does.
This Viagra commercial doesn't even mention Viagra because there were a lot of legal restrictions on how you were allowed to advertise drugs. This was in the 90s. They lifted the restrictions on prescription drug commercials and now every commercial is for prescription drugs. This was a simpler time. Bob Dole established a reputation as a boner pill salesman. And then Bob Dole was in a Pepsi ad making fun of his Viagra ad.
My faithful little blue friend. An ice cold Pepsi Cola.
Since a big theme of the Britney Pepsi commercial was Britney's status as a sex symbol, they decided it would be funny to put Bob Dole at the end being aroused by Britney.
Easy boy.
Bob Dole says easy boy to his dog, who is also a character in the Pepsi universe. I guess the dog is also turned on by Britney? What?
Easy boy.
He's talking to his dog, but really, we all know he's talking to his own junk. I'm sorry that I brought up Bob Dole's junk, but Pepsi started it. Britney is this incredibly talented musician, and we still somehow have to bring up how this affects the genitals of men. Why is Bob Dole in a commercial with Britney Spears? The two don't need to go together. This commercial really appeals to Britney fans because it feels very Britney. It's got a lot of classic Britney things, like the hair flips and the breathing sounds. I once penned an article for BuzzFeed titled "The Top 9 Breathing Sounds in Britney Spears Songs." So yes, I am an expert on this subject. Britney's "Slay For You" is the #1 breathing sound effect song. They also showed women in a bowling league watching the commercial, and this woman is trying to emulate the choreography. At the time, I felt attacked by this. I would stand in front of the TV trying to learn Britney's choreography. This was before YouTube existed, so you could not look up a commercial or a music video on the internet to learn the choreography. You had to wait until it was on TV, and you got that little chance while it was on to see it, and that was it. Whenever Britney's Oops, I Did It Again video came on MTV, I was glued to the TV trying to learn that choreography. The bowling alley woman made me feel both seen and attacked. The choreography for this video is incredible, and it was done by Wade Robson, who did a lot of choreography for Britney. He did the choreography for the Slay For You music video. We have to talk about the fashion, the jeans. These low-rise flare jeans, there were no cooler jeans than this at the time. This was it. In 2001, metallic painted jeans were having a moment. Mandy Moore's music video for In My Pocket, a forgotten banger, also has her wearing metallic painted jeans. I wanted a pair so badly at the time. I never got them. During this time period, every single pair of jeans had a flare. You wouldn't wear a pair of jeans if they weren't flared. You simply wouldn't. And those are back now. I'm really hating the discourse about low-rise jeans coming back. I feel like it's really toxic. They're like, oh, you have to be thin and fit to wear low-rise jeans. Like, you don't have to, you wear whatever you want. It doesn't matter. The big downside to low-rise jeans is if you bend over, you're showing everyone your butt. And of course, we have to talk about the belly button piercing. In 2001, belly button piercings were extremely trendy. It was the hot girl piercing to get. I feel like a fool because I never noticed until now that Britney's belly button piercing in this commercial is the Pepsi logo. Mind blown. They show it so fast that you'd have to really be paying attention, which I was. After the 2000s, belly button piercings kind of went out of style, but just like all 2000s fashion, belly button piercings are making a comeback. cool again, allegedly. In the early 2000s, every single time I got a haircut, I would bring a picture of Britney Spears and try to get her exact haircut, and it never, ever, ever worked out for me. Please give me Britney's haircut, the choppy layers. They would either flat out refuse or try their best and fail. It's embarrassing to bring a photo of a celebrity to the salon because it can feel like you think you're gonna look like that celebrity, which you never will. I wanted Britney's haircut so badly that I moved past that embarrassment. The best I could hope for was an Ashley Simpson mullet. That is a haircut I ended up getting. But no Britney Spears layers, only Ashley Simpson mullet. If I was a DJ, I would play the Britney Spears Pepsi song in every set. I'd also play the Spice Girls Pepsi song. Two incredible songs that happen to advertise Pepsi. I'm really mad because I feel like Britney as a Pepsi factory worker would be an incredible Halloween costume, and I did actually buy blue coveralls from a farm supply store, and then I sold them on Depop because I thought I'm never gonna wear this. And now I realize I could have used that for my Britney Spears Pepsi factory costume. Regrets. Don't miss out on my other videos. I guarantee you're gonna wanna watch them. But most importantly, have you subscribed yet? Subscribe. I just really think you should. Okay, bye.